What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Today it's just me, but we're going to keep on moving. We're going to talk all things Titans. Over the past couple minutes, it appears the king himself has had some words. I'm going to explain that too. I mean, might as well since we're going live. I made a comment on Twitter, and as usual, everyone takes it way out of context because apparently my word is something that deserves some constant criticism, but that's okay. We're going to cover everything today. So we're going to make sure all the dogs are in the pound here before we get going. But as always, we're starting off with our excellent intro. Sammy, start me up.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Talking Titans.
Ladies and gentlemen, 94 yards. Touchdown, Titans. He is the baddest man in the NFL, and he just took her to the house.
The sickest Tennessee Titans podcast.
Sick!
It's gonna be sick.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another edition of the Sick Podcast, Talking Titans. My name is Sal. Today I'm all by myself. You guys, of course, know my two counterparts, Jarrett and Vin. Jarrett's on vacation. Vin's about to tie the knot. So obviously we hope they're having a great time. But it's just going to be me today. And that's all right, because obviously you guys know I never have any issues talking Titans. A lot of times I can never shut up. And that's often something that my counterparts have been working on with me. But nevertheless, we're going to rock and roll. Before we start getting into anything as far as like free agency and whatnot, I got to clarify this, and I'm going to make it short and sweet. Luckily, I have a platform now I'm very happy to have that I can, use to express myself in any way as far as it pertains to the Titans. I made a tweet earlier today about Derrick Henry, and maybe I could have worded it differently, but since the tweet was made, apparently the King has seen it, thanks to some other fans that wanted to, of course, do their best to expose me. I made a tweet. I'm going to read it out loud so that way, you guys can understand the context before we get going. Oh, a new one. I got a new comment. Biggest loser on this app. Listen, my weight is kind of where I want it to be. I'm actually trying to gain weight. So I appreciate you calling me the biggest loser, but I'm actually trying to put some weight on. Basically, what happened was my tweet was, if you think Derrick Henry cares as much about you as you care about him, you're about to be very let down pretty soon. What I meant by that, for all of you who I assume have brain cells that watch a show or follow me on Twitter, of course, he's in the middle of figuring out what he's going to do for the rest of his career. And there's a lot of Titan fans that believe that Derrick Henry is going to choose less money to potentially be part of this new regime with Brian Callahan and company. And obviously, my point to that tweet was, I don't believe Derrick Henry is going to care about, sticking with the Titans if it means he can get 5, 6 plus more million elsewhere. Obviously, I did not mean that he doesn't care about all of the fans that have supported him throughout his professional career. Obviously, if you lack the intelligence to understand what I meant by that, you might take the initiative to try to make a big spectacle out of it, that it appeared it worked. And it's okay. It's something I've dealt with for a while, being a fan that, I'm very humble, of course, to say, but being a fan that, does have at least a very small following. And I'm very grateful for that. But obviously what I meant by that tweet is pretty clear. So the King at that point retweeted it. And he said something along the lines of, let's see here. Man, it is going berserk. Oh, my goodness. These people are really have no fucking idea what they're talking about. But, quote tweet, Derrick Henry, I love all Titans fans. Y'all made my NFL dream fun as hell throughout the years. Always grateful for all of y'all's support. Of course, that makes me look like an asshole now because it appears that I said that, Derrick Henry doesn't care about us. But that's not what I meant. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk some fucking Titans football. So, obviously, we're only about 5 minutes in, so we'll give some time for the crew to roll through. If you guys have any questions that you want to discuss while, we're moving into the offseason as far as that, obviously, there's some free agents that we're looking into, some potential trades. I don't know where we're headed next as far as additions are concerned. We all obviously need to find out what's going on with the left tackle situation, whether that's going to be addressed at pick number 7 or in free agency. So I don't know where we're headed there. We'd like to assume that that domino is going to drop at some point. I'd like to think that one of the two positions, whether that be receiver or tackle, someone's going to be brought in throughout free agency at either of those positions to kind of give us a little bit of leverage to work with. Meaning, if players that are on our big board, whether that be a tackle or receiver, if a lot of our top 2 guys in both positions aren't there, maybe you looked at someone else. I mean, you have potential. You have some people that have been released. They're a little bit older, especially in the tackle position, but there are options there. So, we got to find out which way we're going to lean first. But there's a lot of different ways you can go. I personally, I want to put all our eggs into getting Joe Alt, whatever way that would be. I'm going to be honest, even if it means maybe trading up one spot, to 6, if that means getting a left tackle that we're going to be able to depend on, and we're going to be able to, have Will Levis's blind side secured for as long as he's going to play on this team. And we know for certainty that this guy's the real deal, which all signs point that way. That's my number one goal. I said it last week on Twitter. I'm all in on left tackle. We a lot of people are bringing up, Cody, what's going on, my man? The guy, the other guy from Penn State potentially as well, who I think got hurt in the combine. I don't know as much about him, but the Joe Alt situation, it just seems too good to be true, especially with Mr. Callahan's father being in the mix, and we know his pedigree and coaching in that position is excellent. So it just makes so much sense. We've been searching for a real deal left tackle since Lawan left, and it's just been a revolving door. Obviously, already questions coming in about at 7. I got to be honest. I think it might be the best idea to trade back. I really do, especially with this Denver news. They're going to want to move up, obviously. They're going to want to move up. And depending on what quarterbacks drop, Olu, that's the guy everyone's talking about as well. I'm kind of, I don't know. I trust my father is very up on this year's draft class. He's been studying his ass off. And he's saying Olu leaves a little bit to be desired in the run blocking aspect of the game. So that's something that we need, obviously, to take care of as well. We've had a lot of issues with run blocking, just as much as we've had with pass blocking. That would be a great idea. And I absolutely think we can make that happen. I'm sure he would definitely be up for it. Might have been the best time to do it today, but he's got some stuff going on today, so it wouldn't have worked anyway. But that's something I would definitely like to do. He's actually asking me if I'm on now. I got to tell him I am. But yeah, 7, it's part of me is telling me that Odunze is going to be there. I don't know why, but I have a feeling that he's going to be there. And that's going to put me in a crazy predicament because I said on Twitter, I put out a video out. I'm sold on all. I'm sold. But man, Odunze, everything I've heard about his work ethic, the film's already there. I've watched all his film. In my humble opinion, he's literally a clone of DeAndre Hopkins, the way he runs routes, the way he goes after contested balls. I mean, to me, he's a young DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, that's something we would want. Since we have an older DeAndre, we'd like a younger one too. And, I heard about he was working extra time during the combine, doing some extra stuff to try to, help his stock. And those are things you all want to see. Those are things you want to see. I loved his interviews. I watch a lot of his interviews. He's just a guy that seems that it's always going to be football first. And those are the guys you need. All 53. You really, and that's something I've been trying to echo a lot. And obviously it's common knowledge, but really we need people that buy in from start to finish. Obviously the quarterback position is the most important, and we don't need any more evidence to show that Will Levis is bought in, but it takes everybody. It takes every offensive lineman. We don't call this a game of inches for nothing. A little bit extra effort on a third down play could be the difference of winning a Super Bowl and not winning a Super Bowl. We've seen it countless times. So you need a unit that all has one goal. Obviously it starts with the QB, and we need a leader at quarterback, and we finally got one. I'm not gonna go off the rails here and say this kid is the answer. I've kind of said similar things in the past, like, we know we found the guy. We don't know for sure, but anyone who's going to say the evidence isn't there, and there are people online that try to say the evidence isn't there, they clearly haven't watched this football team in the second half of the season with this guy under center. Because if they did and they studied and they saw the protection, they saw the receivers, they saw the coaching staff and the decisions this coaching staff made, they would know that, the production we got out of Levis, the reason that it wasn't to the next level was because of everything around him was just not in sync. But we'll see. What is Levis's ceiling? Player comp. I got to be honest with you. I see a lot of Drew Brees in Will Levis. Only and that was a joking comp that I made before we drafted him, when I was trying to tell myself that we didn't want him first, but once we did draft him, I was going to call him the next Drew Brees. But you see his style of play. Drew Brees was another top-tier competitor, and very strong guy coming out of college. He was ripped all the way to the end, but when he was with the Chargers, he was pretty shredded. And it's just the edge he kind of had and the fire that Levis has. I think they're very similar, in my opinion. That's what I would comp him to. What I think his ceiling is, good God. I don't want to get too ahead of myself here. But it was really that fumble recovery that he had against the Colts that really kind of like took all of it to another level. Because that's effort that you don't see in this league at all from anyone, from any quarterback. The skill's there. Patrick Mahomes has the skill that I don't think anyone else to ever play this game will have. Josh Allen, Burrow, these guys have skill that is born. It's not taught. It's something they had as soon as they entered this world. But there are different edges that people have that just take them to the next level. And Levis has that edge. I really think he does. I think he eats, sleeps, and breathes football. I think he loses sleep when he doesn't play well. I'm not saying Tannehill didn't, but it was a different thing. It's obvious that the pressure got to Tannehill towards the end there. And he really never recovered after that defeat against the Bengals. He was never the same after that. And he even admitted to it, which in a way I respect, but it's not what we want as fans, right? We don't want a quarterback that says he had some demons after a game and you need to see professional help to get over. That's just not something that, you would envision a guy that's going to take you to a Super Bowl needing to do. And we saw Will Levis against Miami just get every fucking thing stacked against him. Nothing went his way. And then in that fourth quarter, he flipped the switch. And I think we all knew once that 2-point conversion was completed on that first touchdown to come back and go within 6, that we were going to find a way to win. You saw him on the sideline with Tim Kelly, and that was it. That's all I needed to see. And I think his ceiling, there's a lot of ways I can go with that, but I think he has the potential to be the greatest quarterback that the franchise has ever had. I'll put it that way. Obviously there's a lot of players, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are better than Warren Moon, Steve McNair, etc. But those are still two really, really good quarterbacks, one of which is a Hall of Famer. And I think Levis has the potential to be the quarterback that everyone's going to remember when they think about the Titans in 50 years, right? There's teams that no matter what, when you hear the name of the team, you instantly think about a player, right? The Colts is Peyton Manning, no matter what, the Patriots, it's Brady. For the most part, Ravens, it's Ray Lewis. I think for the Titans, it could very well be Will Levis. Now, that's nothing against Derrick Henry. Okay, there's nothing against Derrick Henry. Again, I'm going to be dealing with so much shit for the next couple hours. And I'll probably wind up doing a video on Twitter too, because it's just what I like to do when people try to attack my character who know nothing about me at all. But, I think when you have a quarterback that can win you a Super Bowl, that's obviously going to top, your greatest running back of all time that never even got to a Super Bowl. So that's why I think Levis has the potential to be the face of the Titans for a very long time. And obviously that's going to start with us winning some playoff games. Again, I don't understand how people could be that ignorant to think that I actually meant that, Derrick Henry doesn't give a fuck about any Titan fan that ever supported him over his career. Obviously, that's not what I meant. I meant this is a business, guys, right? And this guy is a fucking free agent. Jared, what up? Dude, I don't want to, bruh. Oh my gosh. I couldn't even explain to you, Jared, how jealous I am. I didn't know you were in Disney. That's my second home. Phillip Rivers, listen, Phil. The edge, yes. Phillip Rivers had a competitive edge. Phillip Rivers might have the worst throwing motion of any quarterback of all time. As far as mentally, I can see where you're going. But as far as comps physically and performance-wise, I would definitely not really comp him to Rivers that much. Rivers pushed the ball, and this kid has a release that we could only dream to have as young players playing football. So, but anyway, my point was obviously that Derrick Henry's in the middle of a contract situation where he's looking to get some money. And if you think for 1 second that he's going to pick the Titans for $7 million a year rather than the Dallas Cowboys for 12, you're fucking out of your mind. That's all the point was. Obviously, if this guy shows up to Nashville in 20 years from now, he's not going to disrespect Titan fans, the fans that were with him the majority of his career. I'm just saying there's some people in this fan base that truly believe that Derrick Henry might take less money to be part of this new regime that'll be led by Brian Callahan, Rand Carthon, and Will Levis. That's just absurdity. It's just not going to happen. And if by the graces of God it did, and there's rumors that he could have made, $4 or $5 million more in Baltimore, and he decided to come back to Tennessee to be the second running back, then I'll eat crow, chat. I'm saying chat like I'm at work. I will eat crow, guys. But I think that's very, very far stretch to believe that's going to happen. I think he's already in Dallas doing God knows what, probably talking to Jerry Jones, because boy, oh boy, could that team in Dallas use a running back to pair up with Pollard. I think that could potentially put them over the top, if you ask me. But I really would not want to deal with that. He's got 2 or 4 more good years. Absolutely, I agree. I mean, a lot of people forget that this man was a top 5 running back in this league for damn near a decade with pretty subpar protection. Yeah, we had the year, with Ben Jones, and we got him from the Rams. He went to Buffalo. Come on, guys. It'll pop up any second now. I'm drawing a blank. Who do we have? Who is the big dude who he played? He played left guard. Saffold. Roger Saffold, yes. That year we had Saffold, Jones, Lewan was, yeah. He did what he did, but most of the time we've had just an absolute revolving door of linemen we've dealt with. I mean, horrible linemen, and he's always performed. So just imagine Derrick Henry, whether he's 30 years old or not. We've seen him in the gym. We know what he's capable of doing. Imagine him with a real offensive line. We said it as fans for years. Obviously, if he goes to a team with good protection, he's still going to be a 1,400 to 1,800 yard guy, I think. I really do. So we'll see how that all unfolds. But, obviously the absolute barrage of stuff is just coming in. Some money on my side. Every Sal hater is content with their franchise being dog shit, and I'm just convinced. Jay, thank you, my friend. Somebody with some common knowledge. It ain't about it's about being good. I want to win a fucking Super Bowl, guys. Not for nothing. I've said this a million times. I'm going to say it a million more times. There used to be a time where it was all about players like A.J. Brown. Oh, my God. I had a fucking shrine to the guy. Derrick Henry, Marcus Mariota. If you've been following me on Twitter, you know. Now, mind you, I think I've already surpassed my love for Mariota for Levis in literally a calendar year. But with that being said, you guys all remember how up his ass I was. Tannehill ain't going to work out. I actually said, you're nuts. When Burrow was about to get drafted, I said, don't you dare think Joe Burrow is going to show up and perform better than Mariota. That line I knew. But with all that being said, it's no longer about the players, guys. Who gives a fuck whether or not Derrick Henry's on this team anymore. If he was, he deserves a Super Bowl. He does. He's the only reason we're relevant. Really, pretty much the only reason. A little help from AJ. Tannehill came in and did as good as he needed to do. But without Derrick Henry, we're not relevant. We're not a team anyone gives a shit about. We're just as fucking irrelevant as we were in 2014, 2015 if Derrick Henry doesn't show up. And I'm losing track of what I was saying. Oh, it's all about winning a Super Bowl. I don't care who's on the team anymore. I don't care. That doesn't matter to me. Okay? So all these people are like, oh my God, how could you, when I wanted them to trade Byard, he was cooked. That's it. I don't like Byard. I have his jersey. I have his signed picture. I love Kevin Byard. Greatest safety in Titans history. Done. We don't need to have a debate over it. But he wasn't good enough to make the money he was making. And I said it 2 years ago. And sure enough, what happens? They trade him last year. He goes to the Eagles. He does well for about 10 minutes. And now he's looking for a new team. Okay? Doesn't mean I think Kevin Byard's a piece of shit. I criticized Jeffrey Simmons 3 years ago when I went to MetLife Stadium and watched the Jets get their first home victory against us. And I thought his performance was subpar. And I tweeted about it. Of course, God forbid you say anything bad about the Titans if you're a fan, because that's not how the elites of our fan base, who they are, that's how they get their status. Because they constantly shove their nose right up their ass. They can do no wrong, no matter what. It's always good vibes, no matter what. And that's great. I envy that. But when you come at somebody else who's upset for wanting their team to do better, that's just blasphemy. And I can't keep my mouth shut. I got to defend myself. So the people who are on Twitter that are looking to get a rise out of me, it typically works. And I always give you the applause when you get it to work. But they're people who have brain cells, the people who eat, sleep, breathe Titan football, the people who wake up every single day and only care about one thing, having the right to brag about their football team being Super Bowl champions, okay? We all want the fucking varsity jackets with the Super Bowl champs on the back, right? We all want the sweatshirts. We all want to have the pennants on our walls. That's all that matters. So I'll be damned if I'm just going to sit back and say, oh, okay, let's figure out a way. Let's figure out a way to squeeze. No, it doesn't matter, man. Doesn't matter. That's it. So with all that being said, it's nice to be able to get a rant in, a real rant. It's nice. It's nice. Ridley, yay or nay? Let's get back to questions, guys, because I want to talk to you guys for sure. Yay or nay on Calvin Ridley? At this rate, yeah, we're running out of options. Evans is gone. Whatchamacallit? I'm having a bunch of brain farts. Who else? Higgins, that's done. Pittman, I think that they franchised him. That's done. I already said Evans. I mean, we're running out of options here. I don't want Gabe Davis. I don't want Gabe Davis. He drops a lot of balls. I don't want him. Michael Thomas, of course, I made it. Oh my God, that was just as bad. I said, don't make me ask for fucking Mike Thomas. And people are like, you idiot. How could you? I'm saying if there's literally no other options, we're going to have to figure a way to get somebody who's got a little bit of talent. Mike Thomas, we know, has talent, but he can't stay on the field. I don't want to have to ask for a guy that can't stay on the field. But if we don't get anyone going in this draft, we're going to have to get Michael Thomas. Sorry. You trust Traylon Burks to play more than 6 games this year? I don't. Do I trust Michael Thomas to play more than 6 games this year? No. But maybe the two of them combined can figure out a way to play 14 games. That would be my way of looking at it. Because when Traylon Burks is healthy, we know the talent is there. We know he can moss people. We know he has the build of a fucking linebacker. We know the potential. He just can't stay on the field. You throw one deep ball to him that he can't catch, he overextends and he pulls something and he's out. That's it. But if he can stay on the field, I mean, we're talking about a number 3 that has the skill set and has the film from college and a little bit in year 1 and 2 to be a number 1. I mean, that's a good problem to have. But we can't depend on him. So if we can't get nobody until this draft, yeah, I'm going to have to say, hey, give Michael Thomas a 1-year deal for $8 million and hope he plays more than 10 games. I don't want to have to do that. but we're running out of options. So where does that leave us? That leaves us with going receiver 1. 1, I mean 7. Trading back is something I would not hate if we trust the scouts and the general manager and the head coach, which I do. Trading back was never something I wanted to do with John Robinson and Mike Vrabel because their fucking draft picks were like spinning a wheel at a boardwalk. You never knew what you were going to get. You were either going to get a guy in the 3rd round that would never see the field. You might get a guy in the 6th round that winds up being a 6-year starter for you. It wasn't a game I wanted to ever play with them. And in this instance, I got some more trust in these guys. I don't know why yet, outside of, just having faith in the hirings and the things they've done, which none of it's paid off yet, of course, but I do have some faith in them. So if we trade backs, if we trade to 12 with Denver, get a 3rd round pick and another 2nd round pick, I'm going to be stoked. I know there's some people that think maybe we go after Brock Bowers at 7. I still have some studying to do. So I know it would be I know he's worth it at 7. I don't know if that's a player where we're really, trying to take another step when we have a guy in Chig that I think needs some better coaching and has potential. But again, Chig dropped a lot. Chig dropped a lot of balls. Forget about his play as far as route running and getting open. He dropped a lot. And that's not really coaching's fault. So we got to see. Phil, what do you got? So are you open to using 2nd round pick and a defensive player? I think Autry is not coming back, so a talented defensive tackle might be the move, like Chris Jenkins from Michigan. Yay or nay? Phil, I got to be honest with you. I got to say nay on that because, Ross, don't worry about it, my man. We we'll hash it up soon together shortly or very soon, my man. Thanks for joining in, though. I appreciate that. Like I said, forget about what we do in free agency up until the draft. In my opinion, it's got to be receiver, lineman, 1st, 2nd round, no matter what. How it happens, what is 1st, what is 2nd, doesn't matter. Now, I will be honest with you. Defensive tackle is a position that nobody's talking about that we desperately need because you are right. Autry might not be back. I think they should find a way to get him back for 1 more year. And I think they should overpay him, too, because he's a guy that is an effort guy all the time. He keeps his head down. He grinds. He's still got a chip on his shoulder. The production's there. I'd give him $10 million for 1 year. I would. I genuinely would. But we'll see how that plays out. But assuming that doesn't happen, even if it does or doesn't happen, you're talking about 2 guys. That is it that you have up front. It's Autry and Simmons. And if Autry ain't there, then it's literally 1 guy. I don't want to hear any of these names you're going to throw at me. Not talking edge, but anybody up the middle, save your breath. Because you're shooting, it's a shot in the dark, anybody you bring up that we have currently in the middle on defense that's going to say they're going to make a difference this year. They could, but we need real difference makers long-term at defensive tackle. So, Phil, 3rd round, I'm all in. Sign me up. And hopefully this scouting department can pick somebody in the 3rd round that will start this year because they should. If they pick a D tackle in the 3rd round, that guy should start, in my opinion. But we'll see. But it should be O-line and receiver 1 and 2 or vice versa. I've been sold on tackle, but I'm being told the dude from Penn State, I don't know. He's not home run. All to home run. That's what I've been told. Olu, I think I'm saying that right. He could be a home run. But we've heard a lot from Callahan that he wants players that are making an impact day 1. That goes without saying, but we've seen throughout the years a lot of players come in this organization to the draft early that not only don't make an impact, they don't even see the field. I don't got to bring up those names. So if Alt's there at 7, no brainer, do it. I think I would move up to 6 if he's there because who's in front of us? It's Sandy or LA, is it? It's the Chargers. I'm drawing a blank again. Thank God you guys are here. Who's in front of us in the draft? I know it's a team that needs a tackle. Is it the Giants? Might be the Giants. I don't want to look it up and waste your guys' time while we're live. But anyway, if Alt's there at 6 and it's a team that is potentially could take him, I wouldn't mind moving up 1 spot. I don't know if that's going to cost us, but again, everyone is telling me that Joe Alt is everything you could want and more. And that's fine with me because again, I said it once, I'll say it a million times. It's a different situation from Tannehill being the guy and all the the front office that was with him and this situation. Before we had Tannehill, the Giants. Okay. That's just a complete wild card. You have no fucking idea what they're going to do. So with that being said, if they can move up to 6 and guarantee all, I'd be down for it. My point is, with Tannehill at the quarterback, you always want the big playmakers, because whether you want to believe it or not, the only way Ryan Tannehill succeeded in this offense was everything being perfect. Offensive line, excellent. Running back, I don't got to say it. Receivers, excellent. Yeah. We went to the playoffs. Outside of that 1 year, we made a run. That's it. But that's how you did it. You had to get the stars. In this instance, in my opinion, I think Will Levis can do a lot with a little. Now, obviously, at some point, we're going to want a guy for him to grow old with a receiver. But number one, above all else, I think it's got to be protecting him first. And as I said in the video on Twitter earlier, there's nothing we can do too much that's going to keep him upright and keep him off the IR. So with that being said, if we have to give up a second-round pick, if we have to give up, no, I wouldn't say second-round pick, but if we have to give up whatever we got to give up to move up one spot, which is a big deal, moving from 7 to 6 in the first round, to get Joe Alt and know that our quarterback, our franchise quarterback's blind side is going to be as protected as it can possibly be for at minimum 5 years. We got to do it. As good as Neighbors might be, as good as Odunze might be, Bowers, and you can go on and on. You got to protect him, man. He cannot be hurt, and he's already been hurt way too much for playing 9 games in the NFL. Way too much. So let's get into another question. Matt says, just starting to listen to podcasts the last few months. Love the work, fellows. Would you take a trade back for a first in the middle of round 1 and a third and a day 3 pick? Yes. Perfect candidate for that would be, of course, Denver. I believe they're 12th. And sign me up, because I trust Callahan and I trust Carthon until they give me a reason not to, as I do with every other person that's involved with this organization, including Ryan Tannehill, including Mike Vrabel. But we don't need to go on any more tangents. Again, if you guys have been following my work, whether that be on Twitter or on my podcast, you know I'm relatively constant with the things that I say. When I change my mind, I let everyone know I'm changing my mind. Or if I was wrong, I was wrong. But again, I don't, you guys aren't here to listen to me defend myself. But LA and Giants could both take a left tackle or be in the market for one. Yes, they sure as hell could. Giants could take a fucking quarterback. They could take a quarterback. It's not out of the realm of possibility by any means. I'm still not giving up hope that just something crazy happens. And Marvin Harrison's there at 7. Listen, it's very unlikely. It's very, 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 very unlikely. But nobody's going to tell me that crazier things haven't happened in the NFL draft. Nobody is going to tell me. One giant trade up, and it could change the balance of everything in this entire draft. It's happened a million times. Now, I'm not going to bed at night thinking, oh, man, please get to 7, because I know it's about a 5% chance, but it's not 0. And some people think it's literally 0. But with that being said, trading back is fine. Yeah, Arizona makes perfect sense for him, obviously, especially a guy that, if he doesn't want to have to deal with a ton of pressure from the jump. Yeah, go to the Cardinals. You'll be all right as far as pressure for a few years. Who do I think the Pats will take at 3? That's a great question, Clash. That's a great question. I personally think, because there's reports coming out that they're very invested in Mac Jones. I think that's smoke and mirrors, if that was even said. I don't think that's true at all. I mean, that kid, guys, like you gotta understand. As good as you need to be in the pocket to win in this league, you need to be mobile. You just have to be mobile. And Mac Jones is probably the least mobile quarterback in this fucking league. And that's saying a lot. And because there's some older guys that are in this. He's just unbelievably slow. Yeah, Stevie, you're right. And my counterparts will tell you that they agree as well. A lot of people are saying Neighbors is as good as Marvin Harrison. I got to do more. I got to watch more tape on Neighbors and Marvin Harrison for that matter. But I will say this, though. I didn't like his interviews. And I'm not just talking about the clip where the girl was like, hey, tell me what your favorite color is. I'm going to tell you what team you're getting drafted to. That's not what I mean. Now, did that hurt me really not being happy with the way he interviewed? Yeah, of course it did. because he was like, oh, okay. As soon as she mentioned the Titans, I don't like that, dude. You're not even in the league yet. Like, what the fuck, bro? This is an interview process, and you're already acting like you would be upset if you got drafted by a team. But anyway, I heard some of his other interviews. I didn't like it. Everyone's got a vibe. Everyone has a vibe when they interview. And I personally think you can tell a lot about a guy, what he's going to do in this league by the way he presents himself in front of media and in front of people that are eventually going to be deciding whether they're going to hire him or not. And that was just a bad look to me. So I don't know if I want Neighbors for just, I don't know, competitive mindset edge. Like when I saw A.J. Brown interview, whenever it was 4 or 5 years ago, I saw how he was as a player when he interviewed. Obviously he's a diva and it's been fucking an absolute nightmare with him outside of the field, but you can just kind of get a vibe. I didn't get that vibe from Neighbors. I did get the vibe from Odunze. Immediately hearing him talk, I just got the vibe that this guy wants to be a champion and he wants to, perform for the franchise that drafts him. And I just didn't get that vibe from Neighbors. Now it could be the next Jerry Rice for all I know. And I'm sure this will be clipped if he is, but I'm not going to be mad if we took Neighbors. I ain't going to be mad. Kid's got speed for days and we need speed and he's a stud. He's a stud. There's no way around it. But yeah, Pat's need a playmaker at multiple positions. But we're going to see, guys, every single day that goes past, we're going to get closer and closer to draft day. And I do not say this lightly, guys. I don't say this lightly. And I've said it before and I've meant it before. Last year was the most important draft in Titans football history. It was short-lived, though, because now this one is. And I think it blows away last year only because we stepped in shit, figuring a way to get Levis in the second round and him being as advertised, at least to our belief. We stepped in shit. Tajay Spears in the third round. Skoronski, knock on wood, he is the real deal. We just got to get him better players around him. This is the draft. This is the draft where we are either going to be a Super Bowl contender in under 3 years, or it's going to take a lot longer than that. Because every year that passes, that Will Levis gets older and older and older and older and older, and there's more pieces that are leaving that need to be filled because we still have some pieces here. It's going to get harder and harder and harder. We're going into a new stadium. We have a new regime. We have a franchise quarterback that's young. We have a running back that looks like he will be able to, at least to an extent, fill the shoes, obviously, of a guy who's much larger than him. But production-wise, you're not telling me Tajay can't bring it. And I'm talking catching the ball and running the ball. So all the stars are in line. Jeffrey Simmons is still a captain in this defense. He's still in a prime of his career. He's still hungry. We need him to be an absolute leader on defense. Now that Byard's gone officially, this is his defense. He needs to be a leader on this defense. And frankly, I think he sometimes is a little too much on social media, listening to people talk. At once it was me. He's got to lock in, man. I think he will. He's getting older too, but he's in the prime of his career and he needs to take another step forward. All right. I'd like to see him take another step forward. I'm just going to be honest with you. And I don't know what that's going to entail, but last year, I'm not going to give him any slack or anything. He dealt with some injuries, but I'd like to see a better year than last year. I'll just put it in the most, laid back terms as I can. I think he has more to offer this year than he did last year. And I hope we get that. Guys, it's been 40 minutes in the snap of a finger. I don't even know how many of you were in here. I appreciate everybody that joined in, if you did. I'm going to wrap up, though. Let's see. I got the phone right next to me. Let's join in. All 30 of you that are watching, however many are watching on Twitter, I thank you guys so much for joining in. This was really fun. Obviously, you guys know I never shut up. So being able to do this is great. And I didn't think it was going to fly by as fast as it did, but it certainly did. So I hope everyone has a phenomenal weekend. The crew should be back next week at some point. It might just be me and Jarrett next week. I don't know, because I think Vin might be on a honeymoon or whatnot. But either way, we'll be back next week. Stevie, I think Callie and Rand may have more of the same taste and we'll be aiming for the best available. Yeah. Last thing I'll say before we go, guys. Last thing I will say, And this is something that I took a ton of flack for, and I stayed true to it from the second I said it until the second it actually appeared to came to fruition. Mike Vrabel and John Robinson did not have a good relationship at the end. I think it'd be safe to say they had a horrible relationship at the end, which I think in turn led to Amy picking John over Mike, or Mike over John. And then when things just continued to go down the shitter once John left, then there was only one person left to really take all the blame, and he deserved it. I think Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan really are on the same page. And I understand it's the recency bias. We have a new GM, new head coach. You always want to think that everything's going to be right. But again, I challenge here. This is the last thing. I promise. Last thing I'll say. I challenge all of you who are watching, whether it's 30 or 100 or 1,000. I challenge all of you to do something tonight if you have some free time. Watch, and I did this with my dad. I don't know if he's watching now, but I did this with my dad. Watch Mike Vrabel's introductory press conference when he became head coach of the Titans. Listen to the entire thing and listen to the things that he said. And then listen to Brian Callahan. Without giving anything away, because I want you to experience it yourself, and then maybe you'll understand where I'm going with it. But without giving anything away, I will say one thing. One guy focused on a lot of the problems that were not even happening yet, and another guy just talked about all the things they're going to do to make this a unit. Okay, like again, I'm not going to go into specifics. I'll let you guys experience it and enjoy it because it was very eye-opening. But one guy was basically like, "Hey, we're going to have disagreements all the time, but we're going to work through them." That's not something you want to hear your coach saying. Why would you want to hear your coach saying you and your general manager are going to have disagreements? That's not the point of it. You're supposed to be as in unison as you can. Now, obviously, there's things that can happen, discussions you can have if you both have difference in opinions. But at the end of the day, you guys are supposed to be as much of a unit as you can. And from the jump, Vrabel was like, "Yeah, I'm not expecting this to be, sunshine and rainbows." And Callahan comes along and he constantly talked about Rand, constantly talking about doing everything as one. And that's why I have the confidence in them. So I challenge everybody to do that. And I think you'll have some more confidence in this season once you do. Hope everyone, again, has a wonderful remainder of their weekend. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the flip. Sammy, send me out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Talking Titans on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.